How you doing, everybody? Randy Richard in the shop. Today we're working on the Cement Mixer Yoke. We're doing some assembly on it. We're going to fit the bearings and a few other items and get the yoke put together so we can put it back on the mixer. So you guys, we've got the bearings all done. There's one of the bearings right here, all ready to fit on the journals. That's what this bearing surface is called. This is called the journal. And these are the journals we machined in a previous video. Be sure to check that out. Make sure I put a link, a card up here in the video. Anyway, we got this mounted on the welding table / fixture tape. I have a 1-inch bolt here. I have some. I have 12 1-inch holes in this table, and they're threaded, and I can just put a nice big bolt in here, and this kind of worked out real well because I can spin it around, and it's nice and solid. This is not light. This is a cast iron, one piece, and it's got a little weight to it. And we're going to put some stuff on here. It's going to add a little more. So what we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to fit these bearings. Now, I made up some shims. Now, just so you, out of curiosity, I'll show you real quick how I made these. I'm not going to show any machining of them, but I'll show you how I made them. Shims, there you go. That's what they look like. What I did is I made a couple pieces of aluminum, 1/4 inch thick. I cut out a bunch of just actually rectangular pieces, and I stacked them all in here. Stacked them all between these two pieces of aluminum. 3 1032 bolts to sandwich it all together. I put it in the mill, and I machined the profile all the way around. Take it apart, and I had a stack of 10,000 shims, all the same. You know, and put a hole through the center, of course, a bolt hole. And that worked out really slick. Didn't take too long to do, and they're all nice and uniform. So I've got a stack of them, right? They're all the same thickness, all 10,000s. So these bearing shells are made to the same diameter as the journal. I did not cut in an extra clearance. I want them to fit. Now, for this size bearing, this is almost just under 3 inches, 2.723 is a diameter. 5 to 7 thousandths is for a grease bearing that is low speed like this clearance. Now, I machined these to 2.723. I'm going to make them fit good. Let me put it that way. Probably 5 thousandths at that end of it. So you need to have it pretty close to the diameter. Now, you could cut a little bit in there if you wanted to, but that gives you that tolerance level. If you wanted to cut a couple extra thousandths off, it wouldn't have been a big deal. And they would have fit a little bit different than these are going to fit. Now, I'm going to show you when I zoom in here, and you'll see that they don't fit absolutely, maybe perfectly tight down on there. If I push it down, it wants to kind of stick. And so it's really kind of hard to turn since I put it on there, it kind of binds a tiny bit. And both halves will do that. Just a little bit, and it kind of bindy, right? Kind of, see how it's jerky? On this type of bearing, on this type of shell bearing, what happens is right in this zone here, okay, in this zone on both sides, that's where it will rub and pinch a little bit. When you make a bearing like this and cut it and insert it into a block, the shell, usually that's what will happen. this my experience. Now I'm speaking from experience, and I've done quite a few bearings like this, believe it or not, in my time. On small steam turbines, on pumps, and things like that, on some old equipment, and this is the this was always the problem, was right here at this transition area where you cut the bearing was where you're going to get the rub. Now, these journals probably aren't perfectly round. There might be a little variation, but they're pretty close. So, and and so that's where I feel that pinch going on. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to relieve. I'm going to put it on there and rub it, and we're going to see the rub point, and I'm going to probably relieve it right across here a little bit, just a little bit of relief, and I'll use it all matters how much it is, but I'm probably going to use mechanical means, literally to just sand that off a little bit, and I might have to go down maybe a quarter of an inch or so, and then we'll get that to fit much better, so we have more bearing surface. We might not even get it full contact or anything in here, but it'll be really close. And this will go on there easy, and it will feel fairly smooth to rotate there. And we'll just see what kind of bearing contact we get. Now this is the top half, and this is the bottom half. They'll both probably need this, just from the feel of things. And that's what we'll do first. First we'll rub them a little bit and get some contact. Now I could put Prussian blue on there and blue it, but just from, like I said, this is all from experience, and I know what's wrong. Let me put it that way. I can feel how that fits and how it's tight, and this is where it will be tight, right there, in those zones. So we're going to fix those up first. I'll also have the big drive gear to put on here for the rotational part. After we get the bearings set up, we'll put that on here, and on the other end we have the drive gear to install for the drum rotation. We'll get all that installed, and then we'll be able to put this on the cement mixer after the weather clears up. This video will just be getting this thing all together. This is the top half of the bearing. Now I'm going to orient these. I have some center punch marks, like right there. I put a center punch on my chart to match them. So we'll orient that toward the bulk of the frame part, I think, so I know which way that's going to go. Okay, now we're going to set this on here, and you're going to see right there, you'll see right here, you can see that dark line. That's the gap that we have in there. Now as I push that down, you can see how that goes away. Now, there is a little bit of machining relief that's on this journal, but you can. This journal is all the way up against. We'll put it all the way against the back, and you can see how there's that gap, and then as I push it down, it goes tight. See right there, and what it's doing is it's hitting on the shoulders, the ends of the bearing shell first, and that's the part we need to relieve. And I'm going to take this and just kind of rub it. Like that. And what it does, is you'll be able to see right here along this edge, if I get it shiny, get the glare right, you'll see how it's real shiny right along here for about a 1/16 of an inch. And that's where it's rubbing, all the way across there. Same on this side. You'll see right along here. See how it's a little darker? Right there, along there. This is the part that's rubbing. This is the part we need to relieve. Now, I'm just going to take this, and we're just going to sand it, believe it or not. Now, this is not going to hurt the bearing. What I'm going to do is I have my little battery die grinder here, and I'm just going to touch across there and sand that a little bit off. Now, there's people that are going to scream and yell at me for doing that, but let me tell you, I just don't care. I hate to tell you that, but I just don't care because this is what you need to do. Okay, now I'm going to do it. I'm going to rub it again. And what you're going to see is along where I sanded it. See, now this part here is where I just sanded it right there, but along that bottom edge it's rubbing. See how it's kind of darker? I don't know. It's really hard for you to see that, I guess, but try to get it so the glare is right. But it's rubbing right along that bottom edge, so I have to go a little farther. And the same on this side. I have to go a little bit farther down. Now, this is one reason why I mentioned before that the top edge doesn't need to be flush with this, because this zone along here, within an eighth of an inch or even a quarter of an inch, really isn't doing much of anything at all as far as the bearing goes. In most cases, the bearing pressures are top and bottom of a shell, not on the sides. Now, and if it's rotational, like in a motor or something, usually there's no side thrusts or anything. Usually it's gravity. So these zones here really don't do much of anything. So taking that off isn't going to hurt the bearing at all. And then we rub it again. Put it on there right. And there, you can see that dark line along the bottom. That's where it's rubbing, right there. So we got to go a little bit farther. And now it's starting to. Now, when I push down on it, it's starting to move much freer on the journal. I mean, this journal is not the smoothest thing in the world. It's pretty smooth. It has a little bit of, we had a little bit of chatter on this one, harmonic type chatter, but it's still fairly smooth. So you really can barely feel the chatter. You see it more than anything. But it's starting to feel much, much better. But we're still having a little bit of rub on here, and a little there also. So we're getting down to probably where it's probably going to end. Now I'm going to put on a Scotch-Brite wheel and just hit it with that. Now, I could have used bearing scrapers and all that, and I do have some, but this is much easier and works just fine for what we're doing. Yeah, that is feeling much better, and you'll see when it sits down on there, it fits just right. There's no gap down in this zone here now. So we're getting down to where that bearing will do what it needs to do. And it feels much smoother. Very, very good. I still have a little rub right here. You can see that dark line. That's the rub spot. And we have a little bit right here. So if you just hit the rub spots, now this is just like scraping a surface plate or anything like that. You're getting rid of the high spot, right? So you just hit those shiny spots where it's rubbing. Oh, much better. Already can tell. Okay, a little bit right here. And we have contact all the way across, not quite 100% away, but most of the way. And we have some contact here almost all the way across. I don't mind just a little bit. That will wear real quick because I have real good feel. It's not binding on there, and that feels just where I'm going to start with it, I think, and leave it alone. Pretty much that's good. Yeah, we'll just leave that alone for now. And we're going to do the same to the bottom half. You can see that quite a gap in there, and I really can't. If I push it down, it's going to get really bound up on there. It feels like it will go, but it's tight. We'll just rub it a little bit, even though we know where it's rubbing. Yep, all the way across. Now, if you don't have one of these yet, here, one of these Milwaukee battery die grinders, these are awesome. Just awesome. I'll put a link in the description. And I'm using a Rolock. I have a little Rolock arbor on there, and using Rolock discs. These are great because you can just change super fast. There we go. Nice little line all the way across on each side. There. And it feels good. It's not binding really. I think we'll touch a little bit more. Yeah, that's a better. So I'm doing this a lot by feel. A lot by feel. And just look at what the rub is. There we go. I think we're good. Now we're going to I'm going to bolt these together on here, and we'll see how it all feels. All right, I have 100 thousandths of shims on each side. A little more than I was expecting, but I have the 50,000 sacrificial one in there, and then 50 thousandths of the brass ones on each side. Now, I can feel. I mean, it's real loose here, and there's a little rubby spot right there, and then it gets loose again, and a little rub. Like I said, I know it's because the journal's not like 100% round, so there's a little bit of deviation there. But it's a cement mixer. We're doing the very best I can do in my shop with what I have, and on something this large. So anyway, so I can. That's a little bit on the loose side. I could probably take out one at least on each side. 10 thousandths. We'll reduce that down. Now I took off 10 thousandths on each side, so I'm down to 90 thousandths roughly on each side, and I can still turn it. And there's a rough spot or tight spot, but it will go around. So I think we'll just leave it right there for now. That'll be good. I'll make up some other shims. Now, once we get some grease in there, that obviously will spin a little easier. But I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the fit up there. Now, this thing is big and heavy, and there's plenty of mass as you're rotating this to carry this through. And we'll maybe even leave it. We'll probably leave it this tight, believe it or not, and let it rub a little bit, let it wear a little bit, and we'll be able to pull them off later and actually check them and maybe scrape them a little bit more. But for now, I'm going to leave it like that. And we'll get the other end fitted up. Let's do the same thing so we can, get things put together here. All right, this is the other end. We have it fitted. Now this one's I have a little bit looser, and it has a little bit of a tight spot in there. Right there, little bit. but not bad at all. This one's fits a lot freer. I have this one here a lot freer, and I could probably maybe I'll add one shim to one side of that other one and get it to be more like this, where it's pretty free. Not a lot of play in it though, as far as rocky play, rocking, a few thousands, not much at all. Bearings are fitted up. Yeah. Never sees this up real good. Never sees the key up real good. Since I had to heat this and everything to get this apart, it was a little bit of a task. A little bit of a task getting this apart, so get everything lubed up pretty good. This gear's all cast iron, one piece. It's got a little weight to it. Now, that key stuck out when we took it apart even. So it kind of goes in there in wedges. And I'm not sure the clearance I'm going to need on the back. So for now, we're going to leave it right there. And that Bill set screw, and we're just going to leave it right there for now. There we go. That went pretty easy. All right, I slipped the spacer, the big washer, 1.5-inch washer actually, and then the bearing on. And then we're going to slip that in, just like so. There we go. Now, we're going to slip on the bearing and the spacer that original was there. They just kind of stuck together. There we go. We're going to slip those on. Like that. Then this new spacer. Now this spacer is going to allow us to be able to preload the bearings. We didn't have that option before. They just kind of pushed it together and that was it. So I made up, I drilled and tapped the end and a cap, and we'll be able to pull this all together. Now this is the pulley. And I have the sleeve, the original sleeve in here. I'm going to push it out. The original sleeve in here. Now it just had a hole in it before, and I cut that to a slot. Then I also broached the pulley. The key did not engage the pulley before. It was really stupid. And the key, there was no key in it actually. The set screw was the key. It went down into the keyway. So I've cut this, opened this, and put a keyway in. And I made a special key to fit this. We'll just slip that on there. Fits really, really nice. And I made a special key, a 1/2 inch by 3/8, with a little tiny adjustment on the bottom half. They didn't quite get the keyway centered on the shaft here, so it's a tiny bit off and set. So I had to modify the key a little bit. Plenty of never sees. Can't use enough never sees. And we're going to slip that in there. Now this all fits pretty nice. I mean, it's not. It's not, but it can come. It does come apart, so it's not too tight. And then we have our cap. I made this nice cap up with a 1/2-13 socket head, and it's relieved for the shaft, so we can pull this all together. There we go. Now, the bearings are full of grease, and this will have to run a little bit. We'll probably have to snug that up a little bit, but we'll just give it a little bit of turn. Sure works good, smooth. And we'll call that good. Looks good over here. Nothing rubbing. Now we'll get the bearings on, and now we'll complete the assembly so far of the yoke, except for the drum drive shaft and drum. But this way we could actually put the yoke back on the machine, and we could do the back end since I don't have the drum yet until the weather gets better. This set screw is been machined on. And this set screw is really long, but it goes down and will gauge the key right here. So we'll put that in for now, and I'll have to come up with a shorter set screw or machine that down. But we'll make that tight for now. And this one here would go in and hit the bushing. And we'll just fill the hole up and put it in. That hits on the bushing. So, or the sleeve that's in there, I should say. Okay, I'm real happy with that. Now to the next part.